So this is a 30-minute information, meeting specifically for the Up Island Public Safety Garage, and I am going to turn it over to Steve to begin.
Walk us through. Okay. So there's the update. Oh. Wait till is that on? Yeah. All right. I'll wait till we're all set there. I think that's fine.
Okay.
I couldn't see that from here if I had, so.
It's fine.
So we have a final quote, I will term a final quote. That came in on the 17th, after the last meeting 2 weeks ago, which were, similar in dollars, people talked about details and such, so we've got some detail on following up this, but the reason why I started off with this page is that's the high level quote. I do want to point out, gosh darn, I'm gonna go up here. Is that okay?
Come on, microphone.
So. And I'm up at the screen of. So part of this response is this thing right here, this section. I just wanted to make that visible because I think that's a risk factor to the quote that we're gonna need to address. Remain scheduled to get stamped engineering and are produced, we will firm total pricing to complete the job. That's a hedge comment, which I'm not totally comfortable with. So I just want to point that out. I think it's our responsibility to show where risk potentially is and where it isn't. So, but this number hasn't changed, all right? So from the last time, so let's flip through one more. And last meeting, there was an obvious desire, what are the details to the quote? And so in that handout and in here shows, what are the line items that are included and what is not included from the original concept that was presented before my time, a long time ago. So I want to pause here and let everybody look at this for a second, just to make sure you can mark quote things, and let me keep going once you kind of mark things. If you want to have a question on it, we can come back. So if we go one further. So we have a price. We have a commitment so far. Really, the options for the next steps are, and I wanted to point out that, our highest price or our highest quote was $1.4 million. Lowest was $1 million something. So there's been significant work by people on this committee other than me that brought this down to this 432 number. And that was the number that was approved for the community, that was a number that we would move forward with the project. And as of today, there's no financial gap remains, because we'll go to the next page, or the next slide, please. There was the final quote. There's funds in the bank account. There's reserves being applied to this. There's interest, and then there was some additional private donations that came in, so there's zero gap to the which we had 2 weeks ago. We had about a $4,200 gap. That this has been erased. So as of today, we're at exactly at the $432,000 amount. I just put this in because the way this would go is, if we do move forward with the contract, of course, any change to that, even with that first line that we talked about where there was some risk, we have to, if we approve it and the contract signed, then any change would be a change order. And I know there's discussion or wants to be probably discussion on some of the details of this. But, you know, as to, did we, you know, there isn't gonna be a drill well, there isn't gonna be water hookup now, but did we prepare for that? You know, there's not gonna be the in-ground or the in-slab heat, but yes, that, not wiring, but that tubing or whatever is gonna be in there, so if we wanna move to, so we tried to future-proof the quote as much as we could, staying within the allotted dollar amount. Last one. I like that point of, the work that's gone on by some people in this community was extensive. You know, the challenges from a financial aspect, which were significant, if you think $1 million off, and we're at a point where we have something, has been addressed. You know, we're at the point where the builder, we went back 2 weeks ago and asked, would he consider going back? You know, like there was some question on the heat, the wire, you know, and you know, so our architect went back and he said, I just can't go back to our subs another time. So we're at a point where if we want this to move forward and we want to keep this builder, my opinion and the committee's opinion that we want to, we need to make a decision rapidly, if not tonight. We shouldn't even wait for another meeting, in my opinion. But now it's up to the community to give us your input. What you think, what are good, anything that you would like to discuss, and allow the select board to listen to that and move forwards or not. So I guess I would open it up to the floor, or no, back to you, Shay.
I
Okay,
thank you for the presentation. I would just say, yeah, I mean, now is the time for questions to make sure that we kind of thoroughly understand what the proposal is. So if anybody has any questions about the final quote and presentation from Steve.
I have a couple questions. One is, if we pay this deposit, what drawings do we have so far if we don't have the stamped engineer drawings? Do we have like renderings, or what drawings do we have of this right now?
okay, and I'm gonna probably ask for some additional from Pete and Laura, but we have the building drawings out. We have the footprint defined, but we have to get them stamped. The cement aspect of it needs to be, from what I understand, needs to be, you know, stamped by an engineer. That's the only,
So the plans you have just need to be stamped by an engineer, and we don't get that until we pay them $25,000? That seems suspicious. That's my
no.
first comment.
no, the $25,000 is, if we sign a contract, the contractor requires a $25,000 deposit. What he is saying, though, is once he gets the engineering drawing stamped and finished, so, you know, we basically have a proposal, everything you've seen, all of that, he'll get them stamped, and once the drawings have produced, he'll firm up the total pricing for the job. So the $25,000 is like locking in the contract with him. But he's also, because he could, theoretically, it could go up 10 grand.
Right, the part that gets me is the last phrase, and move into contract.
Right.
So this $25,000 doesn't even put us into contract. It says, we're gonna give you the drawings and then we move into the contract. So if they give us the drawings and the new price is like significantly higher,
Yeah.
can we then pull out and say, no, thank you? If we do we lose our $25,000?
There won't be $25,000 paid until we have this issue resolved.
Vote.
So that didn't answer my question.
I'm sorry.
So
Say-
if we pay the $25,000 and then get the engineered stamp, which is my understanding, we don't get to stamp until we pay the $25,000. And then because of the stamp, right, then they're gonna, then they said, once concrete engineered drawings are produced, we will firm up pricing for the complete job and move into the contract. So if we look at the stamped plans and they're new, like, if they say, oh geez, the engineer said we have to do this, that, and the other thing, now it's like $50,000-$70,000 more, can we say, no, thank you? If so, do we get any of the $25,000 back?
My recommendation to the group is that we would not pay $25,000 till we get this addressed. I mean, understand your point. I don't think you're understanding.
So how will we address it then?
We have to go back to them and get this clause changed.
Okay, thank you, that helps.
Yeah, that's why I put it in really big, because I wanted to be very transparent that we have one issue that we have to address.
Yeah, and then before I lose my turn, the only other question I have is, are you still planning to heat this entire building only with heat pumps?
Yes,
I think that's
Have we
a pretty
thought
bad
about that?
idea. That's
That's
a
a
terrible
mistake.
idea. Huge mistake. I don't hold back. I really think it's a bad mistake. It's a huge building. You're taking out partition walls now in this new plan.
Mhm.
And I can't understand how you could, and the bay door is large.
Yeah.
If you open and close that door once or twice in a day, you've lost so much heat. And my understanding is, in addition, we don't have a solar array up there now, so we're literally plugging in and paying whatever the electric rate is of the moment. I worry a lot about that. If we had an array, it would pay for the radiant slab heat going through.
Yep.
Or the heat pump, but we don't have that, so it's all at the mercy of what the electric rate is of the moment.
and that's a valid concern, and if that's a reason not to move forward, then but we can't change the heating at this point.
Okay.
I mean, they wanted to go, this was when I joined the board, and we started discussing this. They were looking to pour the slab they called it late fall, and that, and we're going into March and daylight savings times we're out of contractual negotiation flexibility, I would say. So that, and other people have brought that up in the last meeting. I don't think you attended that, but it was a good point. That's a valid point. But two things I would say, and maybe I'll ask Mert. Number one, this is, only the doors will be open when a vehicle needs to exit or enter, and there'll be obviously doors for individuals. So the real heat loss, you're right, is gonna be when a vehicle needs to, get moved. But it may not be the best way to heat. I'm not a heat expert, but that's what the architects and everybody agreed to. Murder, you have any?
Well, we've been emailing you guys for 2 years, when Gabe and Bill Thomas was still part of it, I think you were maybe not even on the board
Mhm.
yet. They asked for input from contractors, we said, yeah, everything looks great, but the heat pumps are a terrible idea, and a few other things about insulation around the base of the slab.
Mhm.
We have a real big problem in some other locations with water leaking and it heaving, and if we're not going to have water or septic, but we're gonna plumb out for it, we're gonna have those pipes going out somewhere with nothing attached to it, so we'll be even more susceptible.
Mhm.
In first, I'm not an expert, but it's
Yeah,
not my first
no, I
time
think-
either.
yeah.
So for 2 years, some people have been expressing concern about heat pumps.
And again,
Lauren has her.
Lauren, okay.
Yeah, you're right. People have expressed both sides of it, that heat pumps are the best solution. The Energy Committee was very, very, very strong in having heat pumps. There are going to be fans that will help assist with making sure that the heating system is adequate when the bays are open. They do have engineers that have looked at this. Our architect has had engineers look at this issue, and they do not see a problem. I'm not an expert at this, and I listen to people like you, and I think you have valid points, but I do think that over time, this has been addressed over and over and over again. People have raised the issue, and the answer that comes back to us is that the system will work adequately.
Go ahead, Frank.
I only have a few, but on the heat pump, if you go to even Efficiency Main's website and you go about their rebates and their heat pumps, they will tell you that they do, in certain instances, recommend that there is a secondary heating source for a facility. This, I think, would clearly be that. But I really have to question at $170,000 for the electrical work and having to have a 400 amp service brought in with electric heaters and heat pumps. How much of that 170,000 would be taken away if you put in a traditional heating system and you didn't need that high demand of electricity? So how much more are we paying on the front end here for the savings we might get on the back end? Further, if you go into the main public advocate about solar, it will tell you that the regular consumers who don't have solar are picking up the fund difference for those who don't. So right now, everyone who doesn't have solar and aren't getting the credits is paying a higher rate per kilowatt to make up the difference for those who do have solar, because it's a kilowatt to kilowatt exchange. So by further putting in this large electric demand up there, you are going to actually cost more and more for electric as the rate goes up and up until something's done about net energy billing or something is more fair. So I have concern over why it's 170,000 and what would be if you put in traditional and get rid of all this fuel worn electric that isn't gonna make up for what needs to be made up for in a timely fashion. And I also want to point out that this 60 kilowatt generator is only capable of giving 250 amps. So how you put a 400 amp service in with only a 250 amp backup?
Like if the power went out for like 5 days.
But I don't care if the power went up for 5 days or not, the generator can only put out 250 amps total, so why do we have a 400 amp service and a 250 amp generator? If you need 400 amps, you know, then the generator, how's that gonna run everything? So I think, I don't know whether the town goes forward with this or doesn't go forward with it, I think you should really look at how much more you're paying for the electrical to go in, to be able to put in electric heat, as opposed to going with a traditional system. And if you are so flat against putting in a traditional system, why are we even bothering putting a tube in the concrete? If you're not willing to put in something to take advantage of that now, why are you spending the money? Because I don't see anyone going back to hooking up to that later.
Well, they certainly can go back. That's why we're putting, you know, that secondary heat in. And the fact is that at this point, you know, this was discussed 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you were able to attend and hear the conversation around the electrical and the heat and everything. People were saying maybe we could reduce the size of the generator and go and reduce the heat pump and look at other aspects. That's what we went back to the architect to talk to the contractor, and that's what they said, you know, that he just, I can't go back again. I mean, we've done this to this guy, and it's not that we're doing something negative, but every time you look at a document like this, and I said it 2 weeks ago, everyone finds something wrong or something that could be changed to make it better, which is true. But, you know, the town, we've done our best and we got the price where, and if you look at all of the things that are on the side that are not being added, the exclusions and such, those could always be, you know, many of those, I'll say, could be added if we get more funding. But we have a time restriction and we have a price restriction. And we have a mandate by the town who wanted the up on public safety garage. And the safety garage may not end up being, you know, what everybody wanted, but we also aren't available or able to spend $1 million to $2 million to give everything. So that's where we're at. It's like we as a community say, do we want to, you know, is this worth the money to do it? You know, and it's really Bert and others who are involved in this on a daily basis are the ones who tell us how valuable this is valuable or not. And we all as community have to decide if we want to do it.
Where do you want heat pumps?
My feeling,
You're the person.
my feeling about the heating system, which all along in the beginning, heat pumps were the item of choice. What I need up there is heat. I don't need air conditioning. So the heat pumps, I get the beauty of both. My experiences with heat pumps are not very favorable for recovery and speedy to that. It's more than just sending the truck in and out and losing the heat. If a truck comes back all iced down, I need something to thaw that truck out and have it ready for service the next time.
Put pond water in the middle of the winter and expect that heat pump to recover.
If this passed and the town said, we're gonna move forward with this. Can what goes in be changed? So if it stays in that dollar amount and they realize that you guys are paying $100,000 more for the electrical work and heat pumps and electric heaters and the larger generator, and they could go to a traditional heating system and a smaller generator and a 200 amp service, and I'm just throwing out 100,000.
Right.
And with that, put in a septic field and the other things that they have to take off that might be more valuable and heat that would be more rapid, would that leave the town open to be able to do that? Or if you sign off to this, that's it, that's what it is?
No, I mean, there's the change, that's what I put that one line. Any change, any additions to it or subtractions or change would be, if a contract is signed, then it requires a change order. And there's a formal process you follow to do that.
And we're
but-
charged, right, for each change order?
No, not for
Really?
the change order.
A contractor's not gonna charge you for a change order?
Well,
Change for the price there.
I haven't experienced a fee for a change order. I mean, that's but I'm not a contractor. Maybe you guys might.
I guess I'm concerned because. On a lot of things, such as the heat, we've been talking about for over and over, and it seems like all we get is, oh, well, such and such said this is what it is, so that's just what it is. And we can't, from my understanding, and I haven't been there every meeting, obviously, but we're at the point now, from my understanding from what you said, is that we can no longer make changes until we sign a contract. But yet we won't know the final price until after the contract is signed.
No. So
That's just what I got from reading
Okay.
your red box.
I was. We're not gonna sign a contract till we have a final price.
Good.
Okay, and so we've actually gone out to see if we could go ahead and get the stamps on the drawings ahead last week, so we're working kind of on that part of it. But we could go back to this contractor again, say, we're blowing this up because we want different heat, and see if he wants to stay with the project. So it's and again, we're not dictating this, it's up to everybody in the community, and this is only maybe a couple dozen people here that are involved in this discussion, but if we want to go back, that's a possibility. Our impression is that this individual has been very flexible and is not willing to be more, to go back and change the heat thing. But again, that's a risk factor.
So did we already have it before as a different heat source and he doesn't want to change it back to that, or
No,
like,
we had, after 2 weeks ago, this heat issue was brought up, the generator issue was brought up. So we went back to the architect and said, are we able to make one more change to this, or a couple more changes to this regarding the electrical and the heat? And what we said, please approach the individual, the company, North Point, fairly easy, just to see what the reaction was, because he had said before, wasn't willing to keep doing this. Because, I mean, as you guys who are involved in the business, you plan a lot longer than, 2 or 3 months, and we've held this up. We didn't hold it up, but it's been held up for, at least 6 months, so. I don't know what else to say on that.
Maybe something that would help, can you or Pete or Lauren explain why, when we were, like, you had the understanding that late fall shovels and ground, we were getting going with it at the same time as the municipal health building, what stopped it then?
I'm gonna have to maybe defer to Lauren, other than the cost wasn't where we needed it, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think it was the cost. It's really hard to, it's a combination of things. The builder had other projects. He went on vacation. Things just stalled out over the holidays. But there were also, we were just trying to get the price down to within the range of what we had been allowed to have, the 432,000. And yeah, I think again, I mean, I can't fault the questions and ideas. They're really good. Um, Many of them were not brought up earlier, that now they're brought up at a later date. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of like a moving target, trying to address these, and it's very important. And I hear what everybody is saying. I think what I believe that what Steve is trying to make is the point that we do have flexibility. We're not done with this in terms of if we agree that we're going to move forward, we try to get the confidence of the builder that we're serious, that the select board has said we want to go forward with this, but we want to have the final word before we sign a contract to see what the price is after we do every consideration of these different points. And but I do worry. I think that we really have worked this for the last uh, I mean, the first bids were in 2023, I believe, and it was over $1 million. And this is the recommendation, this builder is the recommendation of the company that makes the metal buildings and has been successful putting up metal buildings. And I think we can be more confident that we're going to take these things into consideration and try to do the right thing in terms of heating, in terms of electricity. But at some point, we either need to say, gang, let's drop this. Let's just drop it. We'll start again. We still have the money in the bank. But I think in terms of, uh, I'll just speak for myself. I don't think that I feel like I want to go forward much further on this. I think we need to make a decision tonight, whether we want to have this move forward at all.
Is this still the same estimate that was brought 2 weeks ago?
Other than we asked him, there was some different language in this risk area
Mhm.
and he changed it a little, but it's still not acceptable.
Because I noticed that there was the concern of, Mike Clayton had brought up the 50 by 50 parking lot.
I didn't say anything about parking lot.
Somebody in this room, along the lines of Mike Clayton, had brought up, like you had even mentioned that 50 by 50, we weren't parking jets there. We didn't need it that
Right.
big. But so they weren't willing to go through and,
They did reduce that, is it not?
no, that's not reduced.
That is the width of the building between the building and the road. It's for
Okay.
the trucks to drive in and out, so that's all it amounts to.
Okay,
It's not a.
It's not a parking lot.
area.
Okay.
It's not being paved.
and then there was 2 different line items for ferry fees and lodging,
One of those has been removed.
but not on our documents. Or in the pricing. That's my concern, is that a couple of the different things that have been brought up, if he's willing to rework some
Well, that was,
verbiage.
I know verbally that was removed, I was on a call with them, but, if maybe he didn't remove it from here. That's why I tried, I asked to get the details on the next page so that we had as much as,
Right,
is available. But that's why I keep saying we could bring this back every time and someone probably finds someone. Change. Just have-
I understand it's been reworked and they've been asked a bunch of things. The heating and electric and the heat has been brought up several times. In any of this rework and pricing, has that budged at all? Has the alternative heat source been explored or the reduction of what we need for electricity? Because it has been brought up several times and I hear Lauren, and I think you're right, you can bring it every week, someone could find something new. But if we were trying to have cost savings and we're trying to have things And that was something that was brought up by several people several times. Was it ever priced without heat pumps, without electric heaters, and with a much smaller electric service?
Before my time,
Okay.
I can say, Lauren, come up, but well, go ahead. Lauren, if you know,
I don't remember, Pete, did we have a different heating source in the beginning?
I don't believe so.
I do believe it, at some point we had solar array and then a ground solar array to address the electricity issue. And I think we were trying to address the concerns of the Energy Committee and other people in the town that thought that we needed to do something along those lines. That's still something that we can add to this building. Um, uh,
Well, it's
So,
just on that.
I'm gonna help
Yeah.
clarify. So here's an email I'm reading from January 13th, 2023. From Bill Thomas, who's on the Energy Committee. At that time, they were saying that they are recommending a radiant slab heat. And we're plumbing for it, but we're not putting it in. And in the interim, we're doing this heat pump thing. Our preference is to drive that with a hydronic heat pump, possibly complemented with the kind of convection heater that someone else had suggested for faster recovery after door opening. But this conversation has been going on since January 2023 about heat. And the committee then was talking about a radiant slab, which makes a lot more sense also for your truck. Your truck comes in, it's cold, the heat immediately warms up the core parts of the truck that are close to the floor. Those heat pumps, you can blow fans all day long. It is never going to heat the truck up in the amount of time it needs. I'm not a fire expert, but I know enough about radiant slabs to know why they were recommending this in the first place, no matter what the building is. But now it's steel. It was steel here, I think. So I can't understand how we can't either just, I really don't know. I'm frustrated because I know a lot of people have worked a really long time and we're really close to the end. And Steve, you just came on and you've been doing so much work and I feel for you. I get it. There's so much into this, but we're a community that has half of our geographical area north of the Narrows with no protection right now. We have a nice fancy new health center coming in, we have a community center, all those things are down island. Most of the firefighters live up island. Most of the responders who are gonna have to get up island, live up island, so to come all the way back down here. This building is a priority, I know why it's here, but for a $100,000 difference or something, you could have everything you wanted. And I feel like we're feeling pressure, I know Steve's feeling pressure to get this deposit in, to move forward and not lose it, but we're doing a whole bunch of things wrong. If we put radiant in, then don't connect it, and I can't help but go back to this, in the exclusions, site storm drainage and foundation drains are in the excluded category. Why would we do that? Why would we put foundation in and not put site drains or foundation drains? That makes no sense. The exact same problem, probably worse than what's happening at the ICC now, will happen here. It's money wasted. I know that people are gonna be frustrated if you pause it or you don't put your deposit in, but I can't, it seems like a mistake. It seems like a lot of money and effort for something that's so important. Like, why wouldn't we just either wait till we get more money? Or, and if this contractor is gonna bail, I feel for you, but I don't know.
well, it's not for us.
Yeah,
you
no, I
know,
feel for all of us.
Yeah,
I
I
feel
mean,
for
it's,
us. if
yeah,
this
all we're
contractor
trying to do
gonna
is
bail.
facilitate
Yes,
what
yes,
the town voted for.
yeah.
Lauren has her hand raised and then, Jesse.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of things. There was another person, a leading person on the Energy Committee who was adamant that that the way we were going with heat pumps and not doing radiant heat was the proper way to go. So we were getting conflicting messages. And I just want to say that, you know, we have a very experienced engineer, architect that has been consulting with us in the beginning, from beginning to end, and they have engineers backing up that know in detail how much heating will go into this and how effective it will be. We're not doing this on the back of a piece of paper. This is a serious endeavor on the part of engineers that know what they're doing. So I just, there's some, and I wish tonight we had brought those engineers and had them online so you could hear the details, because that's not something I can convey. But I think it's awfully easy for us to jump in after the fact and question some of these things, and rightly so. But I'm just saying, we can stop here. And certainly, if we got more money, we would throw it into all the right places. No one wants to not do the right thing. And if that's the decision, that is fine with me. As much as we've worked on this, there's no sense to just simply ignoring these points. But I want to just make it clear that we have not been operating in a vacuum. We have very knowledgeable people that have been informing us every step of the way. And in terms of doing the types of tests that engineers do to make sure that there's adequate heat, we have it ready. If we need to do the in-slab heating, we're ready to do that. I think we're going to have a functioning Up Island Public Safety Garage that will do what we needed to do. And then over time, certainly a lot of things can be solved with more money. And if we had more money, I would not be coming to you tonight.
Don't need more money.
Jesse?
I don't even know where to start, honestly. Quick question, if we just decide that, no, we're done. What's the options for the town or for anybody else? I mean, I know it took forever to get here, but it seems like all of the things that those that are asking or those that are gonna be actually using the building are putting forth their request, so to speak, and it seems like it's just getting all shut down because some engineer knows better somewhere. Like, have we talked to another service that's using heat pumps to heat a metal building? I highly doubt it. I'm not saying no, but so how do they know that, yes, this is gonna work? And is there any sort of like guarantee from all of them saying, yep, it's gonna work just fine? When everybody here who's gonna be in the building knows you open that door, your heat's gone.
And you should also talk to Josh and these guys who work in a radiated heated building 3 times the size what we
Well,
want.
I'm just curious, Mike, the like firm question though is what options do we have?
Well, we have, hold on, the option is that we're not gonna recommend moving forward with this. And then we have to see what our options are when we do that. I mean, I don't,
So
we
we don't
would
know.
have to go back to the architect and say, what we've been doing for at least the last 6 months I've been here is, what if we do this? What if we do that? And see, I mean, I don't know what we would have to do, but we're gonna have to put a new plan together.
I find it kind of surprising because yes, it is just a building. It's not as big as the health center. But it's still a big project. And we've been talking about this project for a long time. Like
Right.
I've only been on the island, going on 6 years or something like that. And I know that it's been needed, way back when, all this. But if basic things like a different source of heat, if we haven't had a cost comparison done on that yet, after all this time, what's the point?
Well, one of the things, and I'm speaking from memory, so. But 2 weeks ago, we had Lauren and her husband on, who are architects as well, and they asked the question, is our architect certified that is done, because there's different requirements for a public safety building than there is just like JT's building over there. And this group is certified in that, and they have done other public safety buildings. So all the conclusion I drew from that answer was what Lauren was saying is their engineers have done, this isn't the first rodeo or the first public safety building they've done. But that's a conclusion I made, was just to give you some feedback on that. Go ahead.
You guys have to make a decision at some point tonight. I don't think we should throw the project out over heating things, but I would respectfully say that I think the select board should move forward with the building, but move forward with the building of changing the heat source to what has been requested over and over again by the people who are gonna use the building, by what is gonna recover, and take the cost savings of a not needing 400 amp service and that large of a generator, and take the cost savings, approve it at this dollar amount, and take that cost savings, and let the people who are gonna use the building get some of the things they've requested for the building, like a toilet, if there's enough of the septic system in a well and that after the savings, let them have the things that are more functional. And then the town can save up money, like they're saying about alternative heat sources or funds or grants or whatever, and down the road, put in heat pumps and a larger electric service or whatever they want, if that's what they want down the road as a supplement to help offset the cost. But if you have people who use the building that knows what it's gonna take to make their equipment right, and they've requested it, talked about it, and we're not there, switch it over. That seems to be the biggest thing. Approve it for the dollar amount, switch it to a traditional heat source, and let the funds difference that will become in savings go towards other things that have been taken off the table that would be more useful for the group of people that would be using it.
Second thought.
No, I just wanted to state, you can put a 2,000 gallon fire truck in a building that's got, 40-degree or even 35-degree water in the middle of the winter. And you're never gonna get a heat pump to recover that heat. I mean, you can do it with an oil furnace, do it at 100 amp service and go down that far with it. And come out far less than what you would, what's on this paper. I mean, the only 220 item in that building is gonna be a well pump. But yeah, like Frank says, you could put it through at the price on this paper and then you can come out with, walking out with money in your pocket.
But I think I would request that it gets put through this paper that the heat, with the condition that the heat source is changed to what is gonna work better for the equipment and what's being requested by the people using it. With that in there, so that it doesn't just turn into the, well, that's what it was, and we're just gonna stick with it.
Is that the consensus? I'm sorry.
Lauren had her hand raised.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think Frank is onto a really good approach.
Well, you just put it through that, put the heat in, and then get grants or something for heat pumps or something down the road if you really need
Put
to.
a 14K generator and call it a day.
I have one really quick question about who is responsible for getting the engineer stamp on the plans, us or the architect?
Lauren, do you know for sure? I don't want to say.
Pete, do you know? I think it is the architect.
So if we get the stamps on the current plans right now, it's for heat pumps. And any change we make later is gonna cost more. So I don't,
Foundation.
What was the question that?
Can I just keep,
So why-
the stamp, I just want to clarify, because I think what Pete just said,
Yeah.
can you say what?
The stamp we're looking for is on the foundation, not on the whole plan.
so it's only for the foundation that they need the engineer plan?
Yep.
Will that be the only engineer stamp ever required for this building?
Well, the steel building comes with an engineer's stamp.
And the engineers, do you think they're gonna stamp it with no foundation drain or storm site drain?
Those drains were not around the building. There was some additional drains that were going out to the main road,
For the foundation drain?
not for the foundation.
So what does that mean exactly, the foundation drain? And if we're stubbing out, what does it go to and where does it end and why are we not draining away from the building? I'm sorry I came in late. I haven't been following this as best as I can, but
The
I
only
think
drains that we were getting rid of were some that were headed out towards the main road.
but why are we
Not-
getting
not
rid
very
of
enough.
any drains?
Where the building drains drain into.
Yeah.
South.
Only draining one direction?
So I guess just for in the interest of time, I feel like there's a couple of very specific questions and concerns that we heard tonight. One of them was the heating source. And that may potentially have savings for electrical service. One of them was the, perimeter drain, which I do think is, those are two really important questions that feel like it would be helpful to get answers to and understand what the cost is so that we can figure out how to adjust the project to get it going. I mean, the
The perimeter drain is, a dirt guy's gonna put it anyway. You know, it's not gonna cost you much more than anything, it's just a no-brainer
Right,
thing that everybody
it's,
does.
but it's a matter of like, we wanna make sure that we're doing it right, right? Like,
It's in the plan, yeah, it's just the way you do it, so.
so, but having it on this list saying excluded
Yeah, I don't know why it's there, I don't know who.
is not helpful, right? So I think.
Yeah.
Between now and contracting, I think we have a price that is significantly less than where we started. Thank you very much for all of your work to get us there. I understand that they're anxious to move forward. I personally, think that we should move forward with the money. We have money set aside, but I do think that we need to get those two issues addressed. You have concerns already about the $25,000 deposit to make sure that we are comfortable with the contract language, and then these other items, I think, should be part of moving into the contracting phase, that we get those issues answered, and when we have those answers, that's when we sign the contract. Does that sound reasonable to those on the committee?
Yes,
Heat pumps?
Right, those were the things I laid out, the heat pumps and the perimeter drain, the heating source and the perimeter drain are the two substantive issues that I've heard come up tonight, that I think it does make sense to make sure that we have a solid answer in place for before entering the contract. But we're getting very close to being able to sign a contract with the information that is provided. Pete and then Lauren.
So,
yeah, I think those are, actually, I happen to know that the perimeter drain is what Pete was talking about. That was a carryover that was in Gartley and Dorsey's designs, and had to do with the road, and was considered radical overkill in terms of need. We definitely did not need that, and I don't think it's going to be an issue. But I do think before we get into the contract, addressing the heating issue is very important.
So what I see, we have two approaches that we can go with this. One is that we can go with this price and try to work reductions through change orders for the heating system and the electrical system that will feed us money for the other things that we've had to put on hold. Or we can try to go back to the contractor again for changes before we do the contract and risk losing them. So I don't want to be in the position of looking for another contractor.
Those that are in this contracting business, I mean, do you feel very confident that the change orders that will be requested will save us money in going through in changing the heating system?
Yes.
No. Not confident. You save money, you're saying?
I would table this thing and come up with a proper price, figure that thing out. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff you could do a lot better. Giving somebody $500,000 for this thing and hoping for change orders and people giving you money back is good luck.
I think that's why I said, I think the select board should approve it for the dollar amount there with the stipulation of changing the heating source to what's been requested over and over. And then the drains, whatever you have to do, that's gonna work with your contract, what your final price is, which will then allow whatever savings there can then to be discussed with the builder as to what can be added in at what cost, what items that got taken off that are more functional for the department users. And okay, how much more is this gonna be to add on, and you can pick it, so prove it for the dollar amount with the stipulation of the heat source, get your contract going, and then say, there's other things we'd like to talk about, let's do what it is. they don't wanna talk nice or give a fair rate, you don't have to. You know, you can do the change order to see what it is.
I mean, I think once we enter into a contract, we have a contract that's signed, and so I am a little bit leery to go the change order route, knowing that we have very specific needs that we want to immediately change before the contract, you know, when the contract is signed, that we know we want to change. So I do have some concerns about that approach. Yep, Scott?
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you. I've signed many contracts in my past and past jobs and especially construction, and you know there's gonna be an overage anyway. There always is. They're not gonna meet the number spot on. And if you go into it with a heat pump and you wanna scale it back, that money's gonna get eaten up on change log, on other overrides. So I would be very, very cautious about signing a contract without having it stipulated that you're going away with heat pumps. It doesn't make sense to do it.
Yeah, well,
That's what I was trying to.
Yeah.
That's what I said
You
earlier.
would have that change before you sign a contract,
Right.
just the additional stuff.
we have to have everything in line, including this one area, before we sign a contract. So it really doesn't matter if everyone says we're gonna go forward or not today, because we're not going forward, because we're going back doing the same thing that we've done for 6 months, which I'm fine doing one more time. I just want the risk factor to be understood, that if we do that, you know, there's a potential we're not gonna have a project, but that's, sounds like.
Can I make a suggestion? I guess to me, what I feel like I'm hearing in the consensus of a small group, which is not a town meeting. But is that these are major issues that I understand may impact the price. So I think there's an interest in outlining the project and understanding what the price is to accomplish that. If we need to raise additional money to do that, then it sounds like that's something that we would need to take to a town meeting, but that people would feel more comfortable doing it that way than not getting a product that we have concerns we would be unhappy with for the long term.
Or wait and get these prices without heat pumps with the others, do that and get that price, and then if he can't do it now, do it in 6 months. Maybe, you know, it doesn't have to, it's been this long, it doesn't matter if it's another 6 months or a year even, if you wanna get what you want.
Right, I mean, I think the biggest timing thing is going to be prices are going to go up, so we wanna lock in the steel building price.
You want to buy it, I thought.
Right, as early as possible, which I understand, and I,
March 1.
right,
Is there any, so this is one of the things that. If there's anything else on this list, because we could do this every 2 weeks till cows come home. So heat pumps, heating in general, perimeter drains. You know, is there anything else that, you know, anybody has an objection to? That I should be taking back, because we really need to frame this thing and then lock it down. You know, that's probably one of, I've been probably helping this in a bad way and in allowing, you know, the scope to keep moving. So I want to, you know, even if you call me, write us tomorrow if you think of something, but look at this, review it. And if there's anything else, let us know, because we're gonna go back to the architect now and do things, yeah.
I just want to say that I headed the committee that raised the private money for this project. And we raised $1.8 million. And I spoke to almost every person who gave. And to a person, they said, we're so glad about this Up Island Garage. So I just want to thank you all for your interest and for your commitment to getting it right. It's not an easy process, but it's truly what this island needs and wants, and I just want to thank you.
We're more grateful for your work.
Yeah.
Mert's been working for 30 years.
I just wanna make sure that you made a note or something that was talking about, once the heat pumps are pulled, then the change to the generators, stuff like that, like Frank was talking about, the power differences, that's.
Generator.
That adds up.
I got the generator.
I just wanna get a clarified answer. Are you saying that you guys can't move forward with approve a contract with them not to exceed this dollar amount and and move forward and before you sign the final with them, find out what your price differences are. Like give them their 25,000 to get the stamps and start moving to a final, you can't. Like make a motion to approve it at this dollar amount not to exceed and that the stipulations will be met.
I'm not comfortable doing that. I mean, I think we need to see everything black and white and then, and then go through this again. Make sure everybody now says, okay, this is what we want, and look at what the price is, because the price may go down,
If the price doesn't go down by pulling out a 400 amp service and a 60 kilowatt generator, then you don't want that builder.
Okay.
Because if that doesn't drive down the price drastically, then there's something else going on here. I'm just saying, I feel like you guys can approve to go for not to exceed that dollar amount with the stipulations of the changes that we want it. And then be able to go sign a contract without having to keep coming back.
Me personally, I'm not comfortable signing or agreeing to and voting to say yes for this dollar amount. As long as you stay under this dollar amount. And then not having the town folks and all of our citizens be aware of what's in it. Because now if we're at this dollar amount and they go, oh, well, no, heat pumps are still the best thing, and then it moves forward with heat pumps. That's not us being transparent to you. I want to be able to bring back everything to the town of, this is what they said. This is what we're getting, not just the blanket, as long as you stay under this amount, you can do it. It just feels icky. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just thought there was a March 1st deadline to lock in the price of the building or something,
Right.
so.
well, the price probably is gonna go up, but that's, we don't wanna buy the building without the contract for the work to be done, I don't think, so.
All being a little too cautious.
Jordy?
I'm a little confused on the idea here that you're gonna request through them on all these changes. From what I've been hearing over the course of time is that it's going to be plumbed in for regular people. It's all gonna be set up for such a service. The only difference that the folks in this room are asking for is to not put heat pumps in and put in the heating service that's already going to be part of the bid put in. And I don't understand why everybody's so concerned about whether the contractor's gonna do that. They're already putting the radiant floor heating in. The only difference is not installing a bunch of heat pumps. You're gonna install a one system unit that plugs into what's already been poured into the past.
The only concern is that that is not what is quoted in, that's not what we have here as a quote to approve. So there's no sense in approving a quote that does not have that specification included. That's the concern tonight. Pete and then Lauren.
So the reason the radiant tubing is going in the slab is because of a request by the Energy Committee. They had wanted us to operate it using heat pumps. And the technology is not there yet for slab heat with using heat pumps. They don't transfer energy from air.
Old system that is together.
Lauren, go ahead.
Well, I just want to mention again that very likely the price of the metal building will go up. We do have a good deal right now. I'm wondering about the feasibility of purchasing the building so that we can keep that price if we aren't going forward with the builder that would be building it. Can we separate out those two things?
I mean, I would be in favor of trying to get the building purchased before and lock in a lower price now.
The building and slab are not
They're not changing.
Right.
25,000, that's, I think I'm reading correctly, for the slab. Am I wrong about that?
Building,
The building too? You know, that's a slab,
it's a deposit on the building.
the building. The building's not gonna change. The structure's gonna stay the same.
How much is
Change
that?
the-
How
change the system, the drain.
much is the building package? Sell, does that include the insulation?
I'm sorry, Pete, how much was it?
I believe it's 80.
So, we can't make any motions right now because we're still in an information meeting, and so pretty soon we're gonna need to transfer to at the select board meeting where we could make a motion. But I guess another, alternative that I wonder about, and committee members, let me know what you think, is could we approve portions of this estimate tonight to move forward with to lock in pricing for the slab and for the building, and then ask to continue to work, on re-quoting the electrical and heating with the changes that we've selected. Does that feel like something that you would be willing to take back to the architects and,
Yeah, I think what's good about that, Shay, would be that I think it would send a signal to the contractor, the builder, that we are serious about this and we want to make some changes that are requested by the key people, the users of the building. But we are moving forward. We're purchasing the building, which will be great for, I think, for the town to save a lot of money. So yeah, I think something along those lines, we should discuss as a select board, and see what we can put together to, make sure we can purchase the building and perhaps send, if not a legal, we approve XYZ, or maybe it's just a statement from the select board saying, we authorize, these members of the select board to continue discussing with the, builder, making those heating changes and looking at the final price and bringing it back to the town. Sending a message is what I'm trying to say.
are there any other questions, comments?
So having a metal building sitting around for people to make up their minds, it's gonna rust and corrode, all the insulation and stuff has to be stored inside. So you're gonna have a whole mess of stuff sitting around, unless you got a place to store it. Just hold off on the building and make them every day. Come up with a plan, make it happen. If the builder can't do it, if we come up with a proper plan that actually works, that has common sense behind it, a reputable builder will be like, I will take care of that for you. You know, if you keep piecemealing stuff together, nobody's gonna wanna put time, I'm not putting you on the schedule because I don't know if it's gonna happen. You know, just hold on for a second, breathe. Put it all together. Make it happen. We'll be fine. It's okay. Right? You okay?
I'm not even gonna be using the building.
Oh,
I think it should be functional for the people who are gonna use it. Not someone who's
Oh, absolutely.
sitting somewhere else saying you should do this.
So why don't we
Well,
move?
I guess the question from my perspective, so is, if we can work with this contractor to get the slab done and the building built, we can get that built while we work out the heating system, like that, all of that work can happen now.
For me, I don't think it's gonna take that long to redo the heat system. If you're putting in a radiant floor, if you put in radiant floor heat, then you just put a standard boiler in it, heat it in the floor.
Yeah.
It's water.
They'll have that for the Modines.
That's what you do, you're already paying for it. If you put,
That's why
you pay for that in-floor system, you don't use it, it makes no sense at all.
We're also a little bit less susceptible to increased electricity prices. I mean, fuel's not gonna stay low either, but like.
I would just have the contract rewritten, standard boiler, standard heating, using the in-slab, which you're already paying for, so now you're just going from heat pumps and 440 amp service. You're getting rid of all that, you're doing a much smaller generator, I mean, you're saving money.
Right, no, I think we all agree that it sounds like that's something that we wanna have priced out. The question from my perspective to the committee is, what do you need from the select board to keep this moving forward as quickly as possible in hopes of maintaining I mean, is that what do you want us to authorize $25,000 as a deposit to?
I don't like the committee being put in a position where we could end up with a white elephant building sitting on our hands if this guy decides not to move. You know, there's all sorts of what ifs. And I think it's not appropriate to put that on us. I think what I've tried to do with Pete and Lauren is to be as transparent as we are, and I just, give me a day or two. And if you guys say, you know, if it sounds like it's working positively, you know, maybe we say, give us the flexibility of saying we're gonna be moving forward and purchasing the building, wink, wink, until 2 weeks from now, we can say, yes, let's do it. I just don't like doing something half way.
Are we concerned all of these prices are gonna change and go up dramatically in 2 weeks?
No, just the building was kind of, you know, they could be holding that, just, they've held this building since November for October for us, so at some point it's gonna go up, but let's not worry, I'm not worried, if we get enough savings, let's do this right. Go ahead.
Steve, if it helps you feel better, I would venture a guess that if you bought this building and the other part didn't work out and the contractor backed up, but we had the building, a whole bunch of people around here might actually step up now that it doesn't have heat pumps and is gonna be something that the people who are using the building are behind. I think you might, I don't think you're gonna lose, like, I know it's a worry, I would not wanna be in your position, but I don't think we're gonna get stuck with that building. If we get stuck with it, people will rise to the occasion here on the island and we'll put it together. There's a lot of people who wouldn't touch this project just because of certain design issues from the outset.
Well, it's
Summer timing was really a big thing too, like.
Well, it sounds like from what I feel like I'm hearing from the committee is that you would prefer to wait 2 weeks to.
Well, Lauren hasn't spoken, Pete hasn't spoken, so
What-
please, you know, that was just my thought. I'm not running this. I know Lauren, go ahead, Lauren, what do you say?
I'm I'm very, very conflicted. I think that it would be good to have some kind of statement from the select board that we can take back to, in good faith, ask for changes that we can bring back to the select board again that are firm about changes to the heating system. I do worry that we could lose the building, but you know, I worry about everything because it just seems like a difficult building environment and has been a difficult building environment. But I do want to say, you know, we're putting up the health center and that's going up fine. And it's the same architect, it's the same engineers, it's the same company that is behind these systems. So in terms of the, you know, some of the issues that if we want to switch from heat pumps, that's all well and good, and we're absolutely want to go and do that work. But I do want to calm people down a little bit that there is some good thinking behind overall this construction, and that we could trust these engineers and these architects. I think they've done good work. But back to your question, Shay, I'm not sure what exactly the select board can say at this particular juncture. Yeah, but I think some kind of good faith statement that we are serious about trying to work with this construction company, this builder, and come back in 2 weeks with a updated estimate. Otherwise, I agree pretty much with what Steve has said. Pete?
Well,
I have one, I'm sorry, I had a thought.
okay,
It's amazing.
excellent.
Might not be a good one. But the town voted for a building for 432. We're at 432, no?
So can I don't, the town didn't vote for that, the select board approved
Expenditure.
an
That was
expense.
the architect's original estimate when he gave us.
Yes.
Okay. So I feel comfortable going to the architect and getting these changes done. And saying we're moving forward and we need the final thing in, you know, for the next meeting. At which time, you know, we're gonna do the recommendation and tell the guy, you know, everybody's very excited about this with the exception of this heating. So, you know, I think we can finesse it for 2 more weeks. I wanna say that's a risk. So if this thing blows up, but I think I feel comfortable with going tomorrow and doing this, so,
Great.
And you're gonna have the clause fixed?
yeah, oh, yeah.
And maybe, I mean, at the next meeting, it might be worth asking the architects to come, just, I mean, because I do understand that they have made this recommendation. And I think it's important that they hear the community concerns too about why we're really wanting to change. I think that will be very helpful.
Good idea.
Anything else?
Do we want the architect or do we want the contractor that keeps starting to put on Pete?
Well,
No, we can't bring in.
I think it's the architect.
Oh, really?
I just, it's not.
Yeah, that's
That we
that's
keep
really
it more
great.
of an insight,
I think putting him in that position.
I don't think so.
But it's not up to the architect. Well, we-
Right.
If the contractor's
Right.
threatening to quit because of questions
He's not
that.
threatening to
No,
quit.
no,
That's
Can you
not.
imagine with all of our
Okay,
questions
let's-
on top of that?
Yeah, I would say you have heard the questions that have come up tonight. Whoever you think is best suited to come and talk about that along with the recommended changes that may be coming with the prices for the traditional heating system that has been suggested tonight, I think that would be helpful.
To the next meeting or when?
Yes.
Do we wanna have another info meeting before the next? No, can we? Because now we're in the budget.
I won't be here.
Could be the,
So it can be on Zoom.
Does that mean that it's gonna leave it open that if they?
No, but so there have been people who have thought a lot about this. I understand, I personally understand the logic behind the discussion tonight. On the other hand, I don't think that it's necessarily fair to, I feel like we haven't necessarily had them there to defend why this was, and maybe it doesn't matter. But I also just think in a small information meeting, kind of changing things is that, I mean, it goes to the like, okay, at every meeting you could go through and change and change something, right? And I personally understand, and this change makes a lot of sense to me. But if the architect or whoever put this together, who's been defending it for 2 years, if there's something that we haven't thought about tonight, I would appreciate hearing that. That's what I'm saying. Because I don't feel like I heard that side tonight. That's what I'm saying. Nita?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I just moved here. I don't want to overstep, but I was very involved with my small community and planning and things like that. I just want to say what I'm hearing is that you have hit the amount that has been approved and you still have to account for heating and showers and things like that. Am I understanding that point?
No, it's more complicated than that.
No. I don't know, did you see the presentation I gave at the beginning or?
Unfortunately, I missed it. I'm sorry. I was running
Okay,
around.
well, Then, that information is gonna be available. Yeah,
Packet's available on the link to the meeting.
yeah,
Okay,
okay,
great.
so,
So my only question would be, if the costs come in much higher than anticipated, is there a chance that this gets put on hold?
sure, yeah,
So in that case, I would then say, if you buy the building, what does that mean? Where is it held? That's my only question, and listening to the different sides coming, of the different sides of this challenge. That's my
Yeah.
only kind of input.
Yeah.
If it might not happen, we probably don't want to pre-buy a big steel building.
Yep, thanks, Nita. That's not a decision that we are going to be making tonight, but appreciate the feedback.
should we close this
Yes.
information session?
Information session closed. We'll take
5 minutes.
5 minutes and then it's going to be 6:25. We have got a full house with Lauren online. First order of business is to accept the minutes from the February 12th regular meeting. So moved. Any questions, discussion?
Carrie is amazing.
There was only one small thing that I noticed, and it was something about,
A spelling mistake on a name?
no, in the motion under new business for the Energy Committee, it says approval to charge a gate.
I don't know what that meant.
I think, it talked about, we have to make it through the gate to get through this, to this concept paper, so I think, I think it's just meant to be ahead, charge ahead.
Yeah.
Charge ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the only thing I had. Any other questions, discussion? All right, all those in favor, Lauren,
Aye.
Melissa? Aye. Steve?
Aye.
Pete? Shay? Aye. All right, excellent. Visitors, comments, is there anybody here for anything that is not currently on the agenda? All right, hearing none. I do have a note here. I know that it is late in coming, but at least for his patience, we can maybe take the agenda out of order to the town manager's report first, so that we can do the public safety update. Would somebody like to make that motion?
Second.
Questions, discussion, all those in favor, Lauren,
Aye.
Melissa? Aye. Steve?
Aye.
Pete?
Yes.
Shay? Aye. All right, Janet.
Jordy, I'll turn it over to Jordy for the Public Works update.
I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for, other than, we took care of the list that Babe Hatch had. There's been incoming complaints, that Dave Dyer, as deputy road commissioner, is looking at, determining what is safe for Public Works and feasible for Public Works to do, and then giving us weekly, tasks for what he determines is safe and feasible for the Public Works Department to do. So that list of Babe Hatches is already taken care of. And Riders Cove, mostly taken care of. If you're going down Riders Cove, the left side is all taken care of at this point. The right side, it's gonna take a little bit of time to wait for some of the majority of the snow into that side. It's not encroaching to the point where it's dangerous on that side, so we're gonna have to wait. Cause already on the left side, we're gonna have to go back and cut some of the alder stumps down a little bit more at another time, because there's snow there. So, tomorrow, the plan is, depending on weather dependent, to have 3 of us and try to knock out some alders that are by, Bruce Frank's house and a couple other spots on the main road. So alders has really been what Dave has put directly on our plate to start with. There's a tremendous amount of roads, there's a tremendous amount of cutback that has to happen, which is a lot of stuff that we're not seeing, that those who drive cars don't see for the truck drivers. So there's a lot. And for 2 people, being Tom and I, to do that and all of our other duties at the same time, to be able to do this in a timely manner, it's just not super feasible. Any questions?
Do you have an idea of when the roads will be posted?
Right, they posted. They were posted this afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Frank?
I know Jody has a bus license, would be possible or helpful if you were able to take a bus and drive around the island, because it is bigger and larger and the town asset to see where
Hello.
where some branches and stuff might be hidden, because it's tall as stuff. I know when I've driven it, like I hit stuff, so I know that you guys are cars are smaller trucks, but.
Oh, I know what needs to be done. It's just that there's an excessive level of, when's the last time that there's been an island-wide roadside cut?
Right, no, I think that's really what we're trying to get to here is,
It's gonna take
It's
time,
not-
it's gonna take money, it's gonna take people. It's not for a public works department of 2 people and all of being Tom and I. and all the responsibilities and endless complaints that come through the town office that we have to address at the same time. It's not that we don't want to do these things, it's just I haven't had time to do my mandatory trainings for the town. I don't have time to take vacation time because there's projects that need to be done. I work tirelessly when it snows. I work overtime. I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning to make sure the public safety building's all plowed out. We're working hard. And we can't, it's impossible for a small department to be able to do everything that everybody wants. There's a whole island full of people that all want what they want. And they should get it. It's just hard to do that. You guys know that as the select board. You have people who come to you on a regular basis and say, hey, we want this, we want that. Sometimes it's not possible to do it all at the same time.
No, I would just say, I mean, I think one of the things, particularly this time of year, that we talk a lot about is, you know, where do we need to put our resources to make sure that we are maintaining the town infrastructure that in ways that we need to do, and throughout the year, how do we need to maybe change our priorities to make sure that we can adjust, because we recognize like the list is long and it's not getting shorter, it's usually getting longer. And so really, I think our responsibility as we hear from the community about issues is like, how do we prioritize the resources that we have to do the best that we can, and, you know, and making sure that we have feedback from Janet and different departments within the town to understand like, okay, what decisions need to be made to make sure that we are keeping the roads safe as one of the major infrastructure items of the town.
And I think with Dave I've given Dave the job of prioritizing the list, you know, looking at things, and he'll give Tom and Jordy a list every Monday, manageable list to do, and I'll have Silas do some large, like Heald Road, something like that, and Silas did the burn, finished cleaning up at Town Beach. So bigger things, I mean, I will find other people to do them, but this is just to kind of.
Good.
So the board can see what you all do.
Absolutely.
That's it.
And so to answer your questions a little bit more is, say, if you go up by Otter Lane, whatever it's called there. And you start going north up the island, you'll see all the trees, especially on the left hand side. You live up that way. They're all encroaching. And that's not an easy stretch for two people without road control to be able to do. And we're gonna end up having to have a tree crew come in at some point in time to do things that are higher up for trucks to be able to get there. And not only do we gotta worry about the dump trucks in and of themselves, we gotta worry about the dump trucks carrying equipment too. So there's a lot to manage.
Hire a flagging crew.
Huh?
Hire a flagging crew.
I mean, that's a concept as well, and then we don't have a bucket truck that we have access to be able to cut high. We have a pole saw that in theory we can stand in the back of a truck, but I'm pretty convinced that our insurance company would not appreciate us standing in the back of a pickup to cut trees, but I don't know, I'm not a professional.
Well, I would make sure you have the electrical line near there as you do it.
I mean, I'm just saying that there's, like, we'll manage the best that we can with what we have, but the town needs to start looking at, something that's gonna be, I don't know, hiring a tree crew or whatever, that's gonna be able to do the things that are bulkier and taller and, more dangerous to do.
Yep, okay.
So do you have any idea what a tree crew would cost? This is a genuine question.
I don't, I'm sure it's not cheap.
If we think about the possibility of needing to hire a tree crew to assist you guys. If we figure out about what we would spend on that and like how frequently you think you would need to utilize the outside assistance. Is it worth us as a select board having a discussion about the reality of possibilities of purchasing a small piece of equipment? Like a little 35G excavator or like a little skid steer? Because if we think about hiring a tree crew, right, and we think about, let's just say ballpark 20 grand, right? That's probably rather low. I don't know, I have no idea. But if we get a used machine for 25 or 30, that would allow you to do that work.
100%. If this select board in the town got the Public Works Department a piece of equipment, I would suggest an excavator or a loader with a backhoe attachment. We could do a lot of stuff on top of that. They could do a much better job of compacting things at the transfer station and saving us a lot of money at the transfer station. Those attachments like Trevor has can be purchased for a smaller unit too. And those can get a lot done. If you go up in Northport, go up Slab City Road and out 52, you can see where they've done a lot of stuff with a machine like Trevor's got, and it's just amazing up in there what can be done.
I just think I think it would be worth us thinking about this, that if we're gonna be staring down, it makes no sense to me why we're paying a public works crew and then we're also paying a bunch of people in town that's like extra money to assist you, when it seems like the gap there is your lack of equipment and possibly lack of an additional part-time flag employer or something like that. If for my own interest pursuing this, I would be interested to know, get an estimate on what a tree crew would cost. And know from you what you think the frequency of you needing to use one would be. So that we can compare, or I can compare, that versus a used piece of equipment, and see if it at least balances out, or it could even save us some money in the long run.
Sure.
It seems kind of crazy to me that we don't have, as a public works department, much more than, what do you have, 1 ton dump body out there?
Yeah. Couple shovels.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with more than that on landscaping career.
With that.
How many?
Yeah.
And I should know the answer to this question and I'm drawing a blank. How many seasonal employees do you pull in the spring, summer and fall?
We don't have any.
You're budgeted for one for the summer.
I mean, here's the thing.
It's usually mowing.
We're gonna talk
Right.
about additions that the Public Works Department needs. The more and more of this town continues to grow, the more and more, I don't know why people haven't, maybe some have, maybe some haven't, maybe it's just been something that's not been in the front of anybody's mind, but the Public Works Department should be growing to suit the needs of this town. I mean, how long has this town been running on 2 Public Works employees? And there's a lot of projects happening, there's a lot of projects that can't happen, there's a lot, I'm not saying, hey, let's hire 2 new employees by budget season over and when the thing all changes over, but as Pete has expressed, there's been a lot of contractors and it's gotta be pricey to continue to hire contractors to do the things that Public Works could do. But there's also the concept that there's a lot of projects that should be contracted out that's kind of been tossed to the Public Works Department, i.e. this roadside. We need a tremendous amount of roadside cutback. It's not, I don't believe in my professional opinion that there's gonna be $20,000. That's a quick quote, but like, if you look at the stretch from here going up to about JT's, that's how the road should look all over this island. Granted, there's still gonna be trees, but everything needs to be cut back, everything, because they're gonna grow. So if you do selective, it's gonna be expensive every time you keep hauling crews in here to do it. If we get a good cutback back to our jurisdiction, our line, and then make a plan that every so many years that a cutback happens like that, we can be left to doing the trees that are all consistently, there's consistently trees falling down that we're taking care of. On top of trying to cut back these things, that's my suggestion that we should look at.
Any other questions for Jordy? Thank you. I appreciate you coming in. Sorry that it was so much later than anticipated.
That's okay.
Do you want Jordy again in 2 weeks? How often did you said for a while, so I didn't know how often.
I think once a month would be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think once a month, I think we're gonna have a detailed conversation, I'm assuming, about the needs of the Public Works Department and it's part of the budget process, so for me, I'm kind of happy to have that be the March discussion. I don't know how others feel, or if you want to have this as a standing item at the.
The only thing I request is that, if there's ever a select board meeting at the first Wednesday of a month, which I think is gonna be May. I have prior obligations for another meeting, so that would be May 7th. That would be something I could not attend.
Yeah.
Other than that, I am all for whatever it takes to drive this department to the next level.
I think it might be good, you know, maybe stay with once a month, you know, or at least for right now, because this was something that we said we would follow up on. I think at least to show that we are responsive to those around us, we need to, you know, at least once a month with some regularity, and hopefully that will quell the concerns people have, you know.
Sure.
But we, you know, said we'd follow up on it, we need to, so.
March 26th.
I think it makes sense if you could do the last board or the last select board meeting of the month.
This one?
No,
Other month, yeah. sure.
going forward
Yeah.
until, for just a little bit. You know, but that way you can put that kind of on your calendar of, oh, I have to go hang out with my friends, you know, with us, cause then there's a month that has passed in between.
We could probably get it up to the front of the agenda too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get it out.
get rid of the minutes and.
Sounds good.
If we're gonna do that, it might be good to have Dave's lists compiled so that we see what was on the list and then what's been done and what doesn't have time to do. I mean, just check.
What are the things that are not, that, you know, that are public works projects versus how big is the list for things that we need to think about contracting out? I mean, I think us seeing all that would be helpful.
And I think it's probably gonna take until the end of the month to be able to compile that, because I didn't get to read the list, but I got to see the list. And it is a full page to start with, and then I'm sure that there's more coming in on the regular, so. We did take a drive together. I did express my concern on areas that were not on said list. And, we only did the north end, so we haven't even gotten to the south end on the drive and all that, those things. So, we are actively trying to come up with a way to expedite this and do it safely and efficiently and as budget as possible.
Thank you for being proactive.
Welcome.
Am I allowed to take a pulse on to trim a few trees that are concerned?
Yeah, I wish you would. As long as they're not near wires.
No, coming up Church Street on the main road side. If you come to that, you cannot see traffic heading south.
That is on my to-do list tomorrow.
Okay,
good.
You can
That's
take it
not-
back with us.
That was not on a list that Dave has given me yet, but that is, we are gonna have 3, hopefully. So Jeff has said that he would be available tomorrow.
So Dave's listed, he's working from our list that people had given us.
Correct.
You know,
As I say, we need to get Dave something bigger than the old cruiser to ride around and see problems.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is, we're posting the road today. That was put in my notes to try to address that tomorrow too.
Good, thanks, John.
All right, can we move? Thank you.
Well, all right, I'll go see if I can catch this meeting.
All right, thanks. All right, moving back into the regular sequence, ferry service update. Peter,
Yeah, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, aside from the fact that the new ferry, the George Mitchell, came in twice what they were expecting and the whole project's been canceled, I don't think I have much to report. We're still moving ahead with the emergency ferry task force and we're just carrying on.
Any questions for Peter on the ferry service update?
Forgive me for possibly being gullible here and not catching the sarcasm. Is that project canceled?
Yes.
Yeah. That was, okay, I saw the post on Facebook recently, but I didn't know, maybe I missed the detail or I didn't understand that they were saying it was. Of course it was, right?
Yeah.
It tracks, that makes perfect sense.
I thought it was something along the lines of going back to the drawing board. No, I
Yeah,
didn't get the
Yeah,
sense
I
that it was
didn't get that it was
completely
canceled.
canceled, like,
But he
The scope had said that the quote came in at, it was 28 million was the original estimate for the boat. It came in at 41 million. Two different contractors were $1 million off. And he said it's canceled. We're not going over the boat. We're gonna reassess new grant opportunities and we'll keep you apprised, but right now it's done. Yes. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. We'll go back to a diesel boat.
Absolutely.
Build a diesel boat cheaper.
I still have $40 million.
So.
Now you find a yacht that big.
No, so yeah, so, yeah, so,
Cancel the order for the upgrades?
Well, the DOT put the order.
okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so emergency ferry task force update. The task force met last week. The discussion was primarily around an interest in both making sure that the ferry stays on island and that we prioritize getting stronger language for how the ferry can support emergency services. There was a lot of discussion about the best strategy to do that. And Genevieve is talking with some legislators now to understand what some of the language is that's currently being proposed to help us assess those opportunities. The next meeting is scheduled for March 6th at 4:30. I believe Genevieve will be in attendance there. And I know we all saw the energy information that Scott circulated. I think all of that, it sounds like, is probably also likely on hold indefinitely at the moment, which is good news, but not not the ferry berthing in Lincolnville remains a separate issue that we need to stay on top of. Any questions on emergency ferry task force update? A sea level rise update. The Army Corps of Engineers had a representative come out last week to look at the Narrows. So the permitting agencies are now compiling their feedback to inform what the changes in the design will be to get us from the 30% design that we currently have to the 60% design that we have grant funding to accomplish, and we hope to have done by this spring. And our next sea level rise committee meeting is the 13th at 4:30. Any questions on the sea level rise? Anything else on municipal building project?
No, just that everything is on schedule, in terms of the health center, the likely date that people can begin moving things into it, not to occupy it, but to start moving things in might be as early May. So everything's moving quite nicely along.
Any further information about the grant money?
What are you, with regard to what?
Well, I only read through minutes that it was canceled, but back on, but it might come later than expected. Are they still fully expected to be able to get the 800 and something thousand that was set aside through the grant funding that we were approved for?
I'm sorry, that's Frank, and I couldn't quite understand it. It might be my computer here.
Do you have any further information about the congressional designated spending grant? Do you have any updates on or anticipated delays or issues?
Oh, we're keeping fingers crossed. That's a really good question. No, we haven't heard any negative news, but we're very nervous. We're putting in invoices as fast as we can to get them paid. We already have had quickly as we can.
Any? I know how to clear a room.
So I'm sorry, Carrie, again, the actual appeal is April 2nd?
April 2nd, and big year.
April 1st. April 2nd.
And as far as I know, the Board of Appeals is working on a letter to send out to the involved parties, explaining the schedule and the hearing date. It hasn't been sent out yet.
Great. Janet, anything besides public works update?
How's Eastwood Drive coming along?
Well, that's right at the bottom of my list, but I'll start with that. I know start next Thursday. Piece of equipment of his is coming over Wednesday. And then he's gonna start the sixth, so I'm just sending out notices if anybody that lives over there.
Even with roads closed,
Excuse me?
even with the roads closed for frost? You gonna continue?
Yes. No, they have to get through.
Would that be on them or the town if damage happens on a better section on a posted road?
Well,
Every time I worked on there, I gotta give somebody $5,000 to fix the road, so.
yeah, well, that's because it was, you had a building permit in the winter months, like there, an escrow for damaging the road. This has to happen. Can't wait.
Is it gonna cost us more if the roads get damaged and?
I don't know how much of a damage, I don't know.
I think that is an important question to understand.
And like, what if we do finally get a good storm and no kidding washes out?
Washes out.
That road is just hanging there, so, if we
Like
do
if
get
his
another.
equipment or something is
I
there.
know,
Is,
well,
is, you know, is we gonna add another $500,000 or $1 million to it?
I hope not.
So. Just thinking of the ahead.
I know, wish you, anyway, I don't know. I just want him to get going and I wish it had started when the ground was frozen, but I have no control over the weather.
Luckily, it's about to get cold again.
You know what the hearts are on those trees? Have you seen that?
Yes,
Is that please don't cut the trees?
Yes.
protest? Okay, I'm just curious.
can't guarantee
I
that.
had somebody sent me a message last night saying, what's up with the signs? I took a spin down and said, I have no idea,
Yeah,
but I assume someone doesn't want us cutting trees,
Yeah.
so.
that's correct.
I put it there.
Like you don't, Michael, did you do that?
Lauren?
That's Frank.
That's for sure.
I apologize. I didn't realize we'd be going this late and I did make arrangements to meet some folks for dinner tonight. So apologies, folks, but I'm gonna have to leave.
All right,
So,
All right, I'll continue. Were there any other?
thanks, Lauren.
bye, Lauren.
Well, I just clarify, are we gonna be able to get an answer of who's liable? It cost to fix that road if it's damaged by the equipment going down to do the contract and the road's posted? I mean, I understand we don't quite know right now, but are we? Is that something that's gonna get an answer? I just. Kind of wanna know whether that means the town's paying to fix because someone is there doing a contract for the town. Or if it's still gonna be up to the whoever's moving the equipment if they cause the damage to have to fix it themselves.
As well as Cemetery Road.
Yeah, well, that's on us, the cemetery road. We will repair that, anything that happens to that afterwards, as we did last time. You know, and I'm trying to think how it worked last year with, Farley over there. He was in the winter.
He did it during, while it was frozen.
Most of it. It was into April. He did repair someone's culvert. I don't think he did any major damage to the road. But I don't think we can put, I mean, are you thinking we should push it back until the road's dry in the busiest time of the year?
No, we should have started a long time ago, but
Well, yeah, in a perfect world, I do too.
maybe you didn't approve Farley because they didn't put a timestamp on it, but.
No, he didn't
I forgot that.
put a complete application in. Did you see it?
Cause wasn't
Well, yeah.
East Shore Drive supposed to be the first
I
part
did
of
talk to the
February?
guys over at the gas station though, that did all the work.
All right, what's the, what was the
What was?
deadline that was given in, what was the time frame? Can you remind
He
me?
was supposed to start in February, I think. And then there was snowstorm. Well, there were snowstorms.
Well, I think we should, as you said, there's been a question about.
Yeah, I mean, I can check with John, you know, if he would make sure and take care of the road. I don't know how much of the road he's gonna damage. He's just going down over that first hill. He's not going out through the cemetery.
I don't know.
Alright,
Okay.
I think it's just something to be aware of. The roads have been posted, and so we are reducing use on the road for everyone else, and we need to make sure that we.
We've got a letter from Waldo County for our county tax, which is $1,038,652. It's up $107,000 from last year.
Yeah, I didn't understand that letter because to me it said that that was the total amount of the county budget, and then it's to me read, and Islesboro was responsible for 100% of the county budget. But, so I thought I must have
Yeah, I think
read
I
that.
understood that. Our
Uh,
portion, your sum, your municipality's portion thereof is found to be.
right, but it says, in this slash is resolved that the sum should be raised with all the municipalities.
That's how it's always written. Is it? Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't make any sense. I'd like to know what the total,
I don't
what is the
think we have that.
total Waldo County
Total.
budget then?
Okay.
If our portion is $1 million.
Yeah, that's why it'd be nice to get someone on that budget committee. Knock them down.
Speaking of which.
It's coming up, yeah. I've given you the power information for the electric ferry that Scott DeGrasse, talked about last time. Notice that he has sent out about people paying their broadband. There's about 60 people who haven't paid, and I think she's had 11 and a lot of phone calls from people who've already paid, calling and asking.
Making sure.
Making sure.
That was me.
Oh, were you one?
I was gonna
Okay.
say, that's not fair,
I
because I
talked
kind
to,
of want to
I
be that
talked to
person.
Dave though.
Okay. Because we're gonna start shutting off March 1st, so that's what they need to pay attention to. I've given you a copy of the Maine Community Foundation's Health Center Endowment Fund for the year of 2024. And at the end of the year, it was at $1,669,519. Talking about Eastern Drive. And I forwarded to you all this email from Bill Geary that came in this morning. Talking about, some pictures of the work on the Maggie, and I had asked him, what's the time frame for the Maggie returning? And he says it's looking more like April now. So.
Or keep her going if we're not getting a new boat anytime soon.
You know. Oh, and Dave Kinney, I don't know if I forward this all to you, but he sent a copy of a letter to that Mackenzie Kurzbergen about the project manager for Lincolnville Ferry, but they're concerned about that arm and the whole business of docking over there. And I did send him this morning that email about the bid thing. Because he said they don't receive anything from the states about the ferry, even though they're post ferry on there. So, that's it for me.
Questions for Janet? All right, old business, email from James Kasuth. Melissa.
We received this 2 weeks ago in a day. James Kasuf is the Northport administrator. He is making a push to representatives to allow for the budget, overall budget committee, to, that the people that are on it don't necessarily have to be a select board member or a official of the town, which is currently what it is for Waldo County. He has made a recommendation that we could put, that people could put forward, or entities could put forward somebody who is not necessarily an elected or appointed official as part of the budget committee. And he was asking if Owlsboro would also support Northport and the other municipalities that he quoted in there. And if we were in agreement with it, if we would please send an email to our representatives urging them to allow an appointment of a not necessarily elected, that it's, remove that requirement. That way we could get a more robust budget committee for Waldo County. I am in favor of it.
I also would support it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
So I,
I'll rewrite it and send it to you with our support. Lovely. Perfect. Are you good with that?
sounds good.
And he did
Was
all
that
of the work. No, I think it was still just discussion. He did all of the work and he wrote me a letter that I could modify as needed in order to still send the same message over, so like,
Yep.
I'm not doing anything
And
major.
were we
So
sending
it sounds like just to make it official, I move to, have the Owlsboro Select Board support the proposal from Northport to, try to broaden participation in the Waldo County budget process. And Melissa will draft a letter for Janet to send to our elected officials.
Is this something you all want to sign? A letter or just?
I would be comfortable having it come from the town manager on behalf of the Board of Selectmen. I don't feel the need to sign it personally, if it's gonna be an email.
Oh, it's gonna be an email? Okay.
Does that feel comfortable to folks?
I mean, just, I'll send it to you guys first, so that way everybody can make sure there's no spelling errors.
Anyone like to second that motion?
I second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? We're all in person now, so.
Aye.
Excellent. Any new business? I don't see any. Don't hear any. Don't see any new other business. Let's approve warrant number 18.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pete, was that an aye?
Yes. Sorry.
All right, no appointments, and I have no further comments tonight. Melissa?
Thank you to everyone who has worked so hard on all of our committees, especially the Up Island Public Safety Garage, and keep warm thoughts in your mind for an Islesboro kiddo who is currently going to New England for college, representing us in long jump and the 4x4 and at the new track in Boston.
Steve?
No.
Pete? All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved. For a second.
Aye.
Aye. I always get sidetracked on that one, and I'm like, oh, do I second? Do I so move? Yes, ma'am.
No.
Oh,
Here.
thank you, Frank.
Okay.
I don't know about you guys, but I thought those were good things.